Hello, and welcome to the webinar. I can see that there are still some people joining us, so I would just like to give them a couple of minutes. So if you hear a quiet or no noise for a couple of minutes, that's why. I'll be back with you in, say, 2 minutes time, and we will kick off. Thank you. Okay, I think everyone who has joined us is joining us. So hello and welcome to our webinar this morning. I am Sarah Knight, Global Education Programme Manager for the Manufacturing Operations Management Institute, and today I am joined by Jan Snoeij, who will lead the webinar User Acceptance is Key to Successful Manufacturing IT Implementation. Just before we get started, I would just like to make you aware the webinar session is being recorded and the recording will be published on our website. It will also be available should you wish to share it with your colleagues who perhaps couldn't join today. You can ask questions at any time via the question chat box or raise a hand. I will be monitoring that, so please feel free to enter any questions and I will put them to Jan at the time. At the end of the webinar, we will have a few minutes to do a Q&A. Jan will be available to answer any questions that have been entered, but also if you would like to join the conversation, I will unmute everybody and you can then join in. But please be aware you also have to unmute yourself once I have unmuted everybody's microphones. So I will now introduce you to Jan, who is waiting to lead the webinar. Thank you, Jan.
Okay, thank you very much for your introduction, Sarah. It's a pleasure again to present the webinar and about an important topic, to my opinion. It's something that, well, played a role in my, I would say, entire career in manufacturing IT, in whatever I've done. The role of the people and especially the user acceptance is an important aspect. I will elaborate on this a little bit more, because if we look at manufacturing software, manufacturing IT, or maybe even smart technologies, if we want to introduce them into our company, you know, that is with the purpose that we want to improve. And therefore, we need to change. We need to change the way of working, and it means also to change the way of working for the users, for the people in our companies. And so that's intentional. But on the other hand, I know from my own, from myself, if my manager is asking me to do something extra, maybe even, I'm inclined to say, or to think at least, why? What's in it for me? You know, it is an important question, because also when, as a business consultant, helping customers, manufacturing companies out in this whole process of looking what the possibilities are, the selection, and also the deployment, this is typically the question you often come across: why should I change my way of working? I'm happy the way I'm doing, at least to a large extent. I will provide you with an example. It's an old one, by the way. You can see the dates is 2001, so it's 20 years ago that I was working with the premium brand coffee maker in the Netherlands. And those who know the Netherlands, you can recognize the name of the company. They still exist. It's a premium brand coffee maker. So that means that they need to make coffee with a great taste, but also it should be having an excellent outside pack, because if it looks lousy, people are not paying the extra money for a premium brand coffee. So that goes hand in hand. And so they defined all kinds of properties of the outside pack. And the quality department takes sample every 30 or 60 minutes, depends a little bit on the packaging line. And they report every Wednesday about the results of the calendar week before. Because they can score, it's excellent, it's good, it's just okay, or it's scrap and rework. And of course, the packaging operators, they got this report as well, and they felt, well, frustrated because they were blamed for scrap and rework they produced in the calendar week before, but they can't do anything about it. If you ask what have you done today so far, they can tell you probably, but about last week, no way they can identify the root causes for the production of that scrap or rework. So that's not the idea. And basically what is, I said, well, what can you do about it? I understand your frustration, but they said, well, let us do the checkers, and that we have to check a set of packs of coffee with respect to those outside pack properties, and they were happy to do so, because what happened is that if you see such scores 10, 8, 8, 6, hey, they know if this property is not going in the right direction, at least it tends to go to rework and scrap, they know what to do. They are the experts on the packaging line. And so from day one, we introduced this functionality as depicted in these slides, that they can enter the results of the check, and zero scrap, zero rework was produced from day one. And they felt we are the champions now in our own domain, king in our own domain, the packaging lines. And so what is in it for these operators? What's in it for me? That question. Well, not being blamed for something you can't do anything about. Being in control, having the right tools, that makes life, and especially in manufacturing life, I would say, or your job life, much, much better. And because of this single aspect, they accepted all the other things of the change, intentional change to improve easily, because they were so happy. And this is essential, that people embrace the change, embrace the new way of working, supported by your manufacturing IT. End user acceptance for success. I've been presenting on behalf of MOMi and also on behalf of some other companies quite a few webinars. And last year, when we just were confronted with the corona virus and the pandemic, we said, well, we discovered that many things changed. And also we discovered at that point in time that people always have been and will be crucial for success. And if you introduce smart manufacturing, the new technologies, the upcoming technologies, that's great. But smart manufacturing remains equal parts smart people and smart technologies. So it's not just technology. It's as much as technology, it is also people. And investing in people really does pay off, especially right now. And more than a year ago, we had no clue that the pandemic would take that much time, would last so long. So even today, of course, we are positive in our expectations that things will improve, but to be ready for when the upturn for certain companies who really suffer from the pandemic, or we also discovered the companies that are, well, doing a great business because of the pandemic. That's also in food and bev and in medical device and some other sectors or subsectors. You see that they need to invest in people as well, train them, educate them, make that we have the right capabilities to do a perfect job with respect to the demand of our markets. also talked about IT and OT convergence. It's talking about information technology, operations technology, automation, you could say, and we need that to have a connected factory that we can connect and that we can get all the relevant information and data from what we do, that we have the right perfect visibility and transparency, that we are really in control. And also, it's not only about systems and technologies, we concluded. It is also about organization and absolutely about the people. Have a dedicated team of people to help us through that change and to make it successful. These are typical things I elaborated on in previous webinars. And you know, of course, we are still manufacturers. Manufacturers needs have evolved over time. The demand has changed, but still we are transforming raw materials into valuable products. Valuable products in the perspective of the consumers at the right-hand side of this picture. That's the real thing that counts. So whatever we do in our entire supply network has to be focusing at that added value delivered to the customer. Have a happy customer, then they will pay and buy more. And that's a difference between the current situation, you could say, and the past, also induced by smart manufacturing and Industry 4, that the scope has been made larger. In the past, we looked only at our own factory. But you know, it is also, it's still key that we optimize our plant performance. Of course, in alignment with what is asked from us from a supply chain perspective, from the consumers in the end. But also the scope is the entire supply chain, because we have to do that job together. Not only us, but if we have not good partners, okay, then we are done as well. So this is a big change that it's the entire supply chain which is in scope right now we have to look at. So we have to collaborate with our partners. Still, we have to do a perfect job ourselves, because if we are not a good partner for them, well they will say, for you, we choose someone else. So yes, we will be manufacturers. That's our job. That's our life. That's our nature, you could say. But we need to utilize all our resources for efficiency, effectiveness, meaning making that right quality product at the lowest possible cost. We need to be compliant to applicable regulations. And I thought would say agility. It's the most important one next to that, because the demand of the market is really dynamic. It's changing all the time. So we have to look at all our resources, including personnel resources, so our people, in order to be able to continuously improve. And that's what we have to do. That's our mission. That's our goal as a manufacturing company. If you look at that, there is published in MESA White Paper 38, the manufacturing maturity model, which is something like this. At the left-hand side, you can see the 5 levels. Do as you think is okay. Plant and controls at level 2. You know that certain things are okay, and you go up to the top level, the operational excellence, manufacturing excellence, continuous improvement being built in. You know, if you, one of the observations is that, well, you have 4 domains that are key for that maturity, and your capability basically to perform well, to increase your performance. And this picture is suggesting a certain situation. We have 4 of these domains. It's your way of working, it's your organization and governance, it's your people skill sets, and it's your technology that are important. And all 4 need to be aligned. It's like the strength of a chain. It's the weakest link that determines the strength of the chain. Well, it's the weakest link in perspective of maturity that defines your overall performance, actually. So if you would invest in technology and MES and manufacturing IT only, you create only a bigger misalignment gap. You should invest in such a way that you increase the performance, increase the maturity in all 4 domains in alignment. That's key for success, and it's about those people. Often it's forgotten, it's underestimated. It's the last thing people do or companies do in an initiative to improve. It's key that people embrace the change, the plan, the goal, that they understand there is also something in it for them. And that's not something that you get for granted. It's not automatically arranged. No, you have to work hard for that. And so it's all four you have to address. And people are part of that. And by the way, processes, the way we work, it has to do with the people as well, because the people need to do that. Organization structure is also, it's about roles and responsibilities, yes, but it's also about people. So it's way more than just the people skill set you have to address. At MOMi, we have an approach, control the business change cycle, as we call it. And basically in the center, you see here basically the company with keep. There are things that are going great, your best practices. You want to keep them, retain them over time, and do them more often, maybe even. There are also things that are more you're not so happy with. You can improve on, change, and don't forget about innovation, new technologies, new opportunities, in whatever way. That's the life of a manufacturing organization, I would say. And to start with that, you should look at what is going on. What are your potential improvements, your potential innovation elements, or duplicating or replicating your best practices across your organization. But it's also create awareness, and through training, workshops, and whatever, align your people that we have all the same goal in mind, the same direction, that we pull or push the carriage of our company in that same direction all together. That's way more effective and efficient. And then, of course, you have to look at, okay, what kind of company do we want to be 3-5 years from now? And what markets, what products, what processes, etc. All the 4 domains I just mentioned as part of that maturity model should be addressed in that vision, that you have a blueprint of the future organization, processes, people skill sets, and technology, of course. That high level architecture, and also a roadmap, step by step, how to get there. And if that is clear, and also clear what benefits can be obtained from that, and it seems to be feasible, then of course you go into detail. But it's talk with people, and that people have that same mindset, etc. So in every step so far, we see people play a role, and they have to accept and to embrace this. Then, of course, you are going to detail how the ways of working will be, how we organize ourselves, and detail the solution roadmap. And we have, of course, a selection, and there we get, first of all, the user requirements specifications. So from the user's perspective, the people that are active in our manufacturing operations, what do they need for support in order to be able to improve the performance of the entire organization? So again, user requirements, it's people related, and it's role based, you could say, but it's especially focused on users. Of course, if you're going to deploy the software, you need to test, you need in the end the acceptance. Well, test, people play a role in that. In the end, of course, you have your benefit realization, that you see, okay, this is indeed, we are successful with the larger part of our achieving our goals. Maybe certain things were not that good. Sometimes you overachieve or achieve more, I must say, than you expected up front. If you have a good focus at the right things, from start to finish, from explore to evaluate, I would say, then you know often you perform better and you achieve more benefits from it than if you don't. And especially, it's also a Gartner report on this, that they concluded that about 2/3 of the companies who are deploying manufacturing IT, MES, and others are not completely achieving the goals they expected up front. And the major reason for that is that they, did not deal with the process, with the initiative, or maybe they did only, they treated it like an IT project only. So creating that misalignment gap I showed, instead of addressing all 4 domains, and especially involve people and the users properly and sufficiently in the whole initiative. And then, of course, if you have done this, you can go to the next iteration. So step by step, you can go through your roadmap and achieve every time great results. So in every stage, that's the observation here is, of course, that users are of key importance, because they know and they can help and they should embrace and make it successful. And it is an alignment, actually, if you talk about governance, between business and IT. And people are absolutely a crucial element or a crucial influential factor here. And of course, we need to talk about our ways of working, our processes. And sometimes there is a process harmonization change board or an operation excellence team or whatever, especially in a multi-site situation as depicted here. It is both ends. It's technology at the right hand side, it's your business, your processes, your operations at the left hand side. And people are playing a role there, as said before. How to do so and how to get the right people on board, because you can't, if you have 1,000 operators and I don't know how many more people involved in your operations, you can't work with all of them. That's not feasible. So a great team, a good team, a center of excellence group, as we call it for manufacturing systems, that's the way to do it. And they should address basically all the elements, influential factors, issues from both business and IT in a aligned way, both at corporate and local, at plant level. And you see, there are a number of things that you try to achieve your business at corporate level. The goals are, and the responsibility of the business is, of course, to create revenue improvement, cost improvement, cash generation, etc. And the plant even has to do better, exceed those targets for quality, production, and waste and cost. That's the goal. That's responsibility of the business, of the operations, and the manufacturing system COE group is there to support the business to achieve their goals. On the other hand, they are responsible for the IT things that are mentioned here as well. So, of course, if you have multiple sites or multiple areas in your factory, they are all, to a certain extent at least, they have some unique elements. That's why you are successful as a manufacturer. There is also a life cycle. So if you look at your organization, there are different levels of maturity, different levels of performance. And you have to recognize those, and you have to recognize what is unique, what is key for your success. Because that's something that you should maintain and keep, especially. So those business groups in your organization are essential to work with, and because they know about those unique elements, your success factors, you could say. On the other hand, you definitely need the champions of the floor, the people with an open mindset, that they are really eager to move forward, and also seen as the natural leaders of the group. Those are typical the people that should be in that COE team in order to have the right representation of all your people in the working group, you could say, the active group, in order to deliver the success. And the early adopters are, of course, an important factor here. A right team will help. A right team of people will help. So manufacturing capability, it's not only about IT, as I said before. We have to design the future, the improved ways of working, our processes, and we have to make sure that those processes, those improved ways of working, are indeed accepted and adopted by all your staff. And if you do so, you have to pay special attention to a number of aspects. Roles and responsibility, that is clear. And it's about people, what people do, and what they are responsible for. Succession plans and backups, you need to have a plan B always, because with people, but also with materials and equipment probably, but succession plan is an important aspect. Policy procedures, defined activities, they should be well defined, clear, and people should be trained in them, that they are capable to execute those activities, to perform them. And the KPIs are providing the feedback to people, again, that they have done the right thing, or that they have to do something else in order to improve the performance. All aspects that are important. Because if you don't, then it will fail. But communication is one of the most essential parts here. Communication of the company, of the leadership maybe, to everyone in the organization. And Gartner showed something, he made an analysis in 2019, that is There is a disconnect sometimes between what was expected and what was achieved. And often that's a combination of a lack of agreement on processes. So people have not the right idea, are not aligned, not aware, and the goals are not properly understood. And of course, you have some technology aspects as well. An important conclusion that it has to do with communication with people, all your people, basically. Another one is from Kees Kitani, who published this in 2020, did some research to some initiatives with respect to digital transformation. And he observed a large number of large companies, major players also, and there was a huge amount of money involved. But unfortunately, you could say it's really a pity that they were not able to communicate their goals, their strategy, their purpose, and the outlook with their employees properly. And therefore they failed. 70% of their investment were down the drain, which is enormous. And it's not necessary. And it's the organization's failure to communicate effectively with the people that prepare them and sets them up for the digital transformation, for that initiative. And it creates trouble from the start. So if people are not involved, are not accepting what is coming up, are not aware of it, that's a recipe for dramatic results, you could say. So summarizing, if you look at the user acceptance, and that's the title of this webinar, is key for a successful manufacturing IT implementation. Users are of key importance. They play an important role during all phases of the preparation and the deployment process. So we have to manage the change because we intentionally want to change, because we want to improve. Keeping in mind what motivates the users, the what's in it for me question, that should be answered. Driven by management and involving a great COE team with the right representation of all the important groups in your organization. Key for success. And you have to understand that there is a close relationship between the project results, the ROI, the return of investment, and user adoption. If people are not using your technology, are not following up on or executing the improved ways of working, the changed ways of working, you won't get a return on investment. So that's, you can pinpoint this, you can make it very explicit. So it's from beginning to end, it's about communication. Communication and more communication, I would say. In the end, the people are making the difference. Thank you very much for your attention, and maybe Sarah, there are some questions.
Yeah, Jan, oh, excuse me. Yeah, there are a few questions. I will just look at them now. You spoke about the reasons for failure of digital transformation initiatives, excuse me, being the ineffective communication of companies to their people to prepare for the new initiatives. What would be examples of better communication? How can they improve on that?
Yeah, great question. This is on this slide, the previous slide actually. So first of all, I would say you have to focus on the why. Why are we starting this initiative? Why do we want to improve? And also, of course, also, what do we want to improve? And not only in generic terms, but make also personalized messages that you address certain groups of people in your organization. If you talk to operators, you have to tell another story than if you talk to your supervisors, to your managers, etc., or your finance people. So you have to have personalized and I would say targeted messages. And right now it's not only someone is speaking up, a manager is telling stories or send an email to all his employees. No, you can use also multimedia messages, you could say, in order to reach the various groups in a more effective and efficient way. Communicate in context. It's the context of that group, of course. I think there are things that can contribute to becoming actually a change-ready organization, and that's, I think, the essential part here.
Okay, so do you think that that more and more companies are becoming aware of the fact that their people are important to this change that will happen, or is it something that's still not thought about because the technology is exciting and the change that's going to happen is exciting, so the people still get forgotten about? What's your sort of experience of that at the moment?
Yeah, it's a good question again, I would say. My personal observation, and of course I am not aware of everything that happens in this domain,
Of
but
course, yeah.
I have quite a few contacts, so I know quite a few stories. In general, I would say it is improving. There are more companies definitely aware of the fact that they have to involve their people in another way than they've done in the past, or not at all, but maybe in the past, I don't know. But still, too often I come across companies that are seem to be completely unaware of the role of the people in their success to start whatever initiative in manufacturing, especially if you talk about new technologies. Too often they are eager to get the technology implemented and in their facilities, and they forget about the fact that and different people and different capabilities and skill sets.
Okay, thanks, Jan. Well, I'm aware that we have actually run over time now. There is another question to ask, but I will send it out to everybody as a follow-up rather than keeping you hanging on at this time. Thank you very much, Jan, for an informative webinar, and thank you to everyone that has joined us this morning. We hope that you've found it useful, and if you need any further information, please don't hesitate to contact either myself or Jan. The details are on the screen now, and I wish you a very good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.